The simple thought I recognized. Can't just see their beauty in my mind.
I've noticed this alarming rate of people that play like a bitch nowadays. And, you know, I think there was always people that were like this, but it seems to be getting worse. You know, and I think Sky Williams was one of the people that joked around about it a lot. Like, oh, to win, you just play like a bitch. But I think a lot of people, not to say that, you know, Sky Williams was the cause of it, because I don't think he was, but he kind of joked around like, oh, all I gotta do is, I think a lot of people took that to heart, though, and were like, oh, all I gotta do is play like a bitch?
You know, I'm gonna level with all of you, okay? Women are beautiful. You thought I was gonna call them a bitch. And you're right, they are bitches as well. But if these videos have been teaching you anything, it means that you need to be a bitch to succeed in life. So I'm going to go the biggest bitch champion that someone could play in mid lane. Heads, I go Lux. Tails, I go Ahri.
And whether they're doing it on purpose or they're subconsciously doing it, they're just like, oh no, I'm being defensive. There's a difference between being defensive and playing like a bitch. You know, and I noticed there's different champions in League that I guess have a supported bitchy playstyle. Like if you play bitchy, you can do well without being good at the champion. Just because their skill kit is super broken if you play bitchy, like Lux. Or Vladimir is a good example. Zoe lately has been one of those. Because with Zoe, I've noticed that one person got mad at me one game because they were like, dude, why don't you ever use your paddle star backwards? You know the farther it travels, the more damage it does, right? And I already knew that, but it's really predictable. You know, you can tell that what Zoe's gonna do, and you can see where it's going, and you can a lot of times sidestep it pretty easily, you know? Or just move away, move backwards, and just outrange it. So what Zoe tends to do is she'll throw her star paddle behind her, ult, and then when she, in that brief second when she's like really close to you, star paddle from max distance behind her, from there all the way to you, doing like fucking crazy damage. And she doesn't have to be fed, have a lot of farm, have good items, she just fucking chunks for no reason, right? And so I've noticed a lot of people do is when they're playing Zoe is that's all they do, is they just rinse and repeat the combo. Throw it behind me, ult forward, pull it into the enemy. Rinse and repeat this for the next 30 minutes of the game.
Hi! I've got a magic present for you! Here it comes! Goodbye, my new
Alright, so I wanted to show a small example of what I'm talking about with Zoe to kind of explain what I'm talking about. I mean, it's one thing to explain it, but it's another to actually show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so let me level myself up here some. Give myself some gold. Put my cooldowns on max for a minute. Alright, so let's just say with her two abilities, okay? Because nobody even really uses these other two. Not to say that they aren't useful or that people never use them, but the two that I'm really talking about are her Q and her R. Like, her W and E, like, really aren't the issue for me. It's how people use her Q and R. I'd actually like to see more use of her W and E. More so her W would be nice, without having to max it. Alright, so a basic combo with Zoe kind of looks like this. You basically see people do this. Now, I got bitched out for not, like, star paddling behind me. People were like, but you don't get your max damage because, you know, the farther it travels, the more damage it does. Okay, that's fair, that's true. And I did complain, I was like saying, well, you know, yeah, it's predictable, you know? When you throw it behind you, there's more chance of dodging it because it has to travel from back here to here rather than if I do something like that. You know, in lane, it may not seem like much of a difference, but there is a significant time difference. You know, doing it like this, you're looking at like a second to a half a second, all right? You throw it behind you and then do that, it takes about 2 seconds, maybe almost 3 to reach the target, depending on how much range you've got on it. Now, what you're going to see a lot of people do in laning phase with Zoe, and pretty much the only thing I've seen people do with Zoe, I've only seen, I think, one Zoe since Zoe came out that was actually good at the champion. Everybody else that does pretty much this. They throw it back, they throw it forward. They throw it back, and they throw it forward. And they just keep rinse and repeating this the whole game. You don't see them do anything else. Now, I have mana on max right now so that I can't run out, right? But you'll notice that even if I take that off, right? I want to see how fast the mana actually is used, all right? Got 1, got 2, we got 3, got 4, got 5, got 6, 7, 8, and 9. So she can do it like 9 times without running out of mana. That is crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy to me. Like, she doesn't have that much mana either. It's 582, which isn't a lot of mana. But at the rate that she uses it, if you have any kind of, like, mana items, Morello's would be good because of the cooldown and the AP. Personally, for me, I'd probably get an Archangel staff. You know? So, like, let's see how that looks now that we have an Archangel staff. Alright? Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I've done 10 and I'm about at half mana. Meaning I could probably do about 20 casts with just an Archangel with no other items. Alright? And I'm not even using, like, items right now that give me mana or cooldown or anything. Like, I'm using, like, the Execute tree line. Now, if I was using, like, Airy or the Comet, and I had, like, Magic Hat, I think it's called, that gives you extra cooldown, and some of the ones that give you mana, the possibilities could be really scary, okay? Now, Tyler, why are you complaining about this? What does it matter? Well, I'm just using Zoe as an example, so it may seem like I'm picking on her a bit for a while. Understand that I'm merely using her to show an example of what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of champions in League, whether it be Yasuo, Master Yi, whatever, that you don't have to be good at, that the champion just either A, scales well, that their kit inherently is broken, that... and I talked about this in another video, it's not so much that the player is good, it's just that the champion is so broken, and people would say, well, then they're clearly a bad player. I'm not saying that, because I've seen a lot of people that are really good at playing Yasuo, for example, you know, or good at playing Zoe. I've seen a few, but what I've noticed is a lot of these people being able to sit and do this for the first, you know, half of the game until they reach level 6 is all they're gonna do. You're not going to see them ever go in with their W. You're never going to see them really land a stun. I mean, every once in a while they might, you know, but I've seen most people can't land the bubble to save their lives. I think landing the bubble should be something that has to happen to get more damage. I don't think that you should be able to just do this the whole game to do well. A lot of people, when they're playing Zoe, will never put themselves in danger because she is rather squishy, which I think is fair. She should be. But I think that there's really no risk of failure with Zoe. Like, you can sit there and spam her Q all game, do lots of damage, and people have to try to catch you and beat you over the head, killing you, like CCing the shit out of you or whatever, to actually put you down. Because Zoe, with her bubble, it's like, oh, you're gonna get me, and then you just bubble them and run away. You know? Or flash over a wall. I mean, the fact that her W, the Spell Thief, works the way it does, you end up getting a lot of times, you know, the heal, or the flash, or ghost, or whatever, but she also gains an active movement speed boost. How does that work, if I recall? Alright, so with her W, you actually gain extra movement speed, and missile damage improved with spell rank. So not only are you not only are you getting all these extra summoner spells, but you actively get a movement speed boost as well. It's like, she has a lot of getaway. She has good CC. This bubble, it lasts forever. Okay, the entire time that it's actually activating, it slows. And then once it hits, it gives, how long is her stun? Let's see. Victim falls asleep for 2 seconds. So you're slowed before that, and then you get stunned. Like, for 2 seconds, which feels a lot longer than 2 seconds, but let's just say it's 2 seconds, right? Okay, so You gotta catch her when she's doing this to you, gets slowed, then gets asleep, gets slowed, and then put asleep. And then she has the ability to juke with this, okay, the damage from this, and then her W gives her the ability to gain shards for summoner spells that can help her get away on top of it. And then you add the fact that I have Flash, okay, on top of it. And a lot of times, like, if people are busting Flash around you to get, like, to kill you, you just grab their Flash and then you Flash again. It's rage-inducing to try to catch Zoe. So what does she do the whole game? Well, she becomes the most annoying piece of shit ever to try to catch, but while doing so is doing this to you constantly from far away, and you can't get her. Now people would say, well, that doesn't seem so bad. And inherently, I don't think if it was just this, I think she'd be annoying, but I think it'd be doable. But then Riot decided, we're going to give her an ult that, without upgrading, at level 1, is 11 seconds. Okay, so she basically has a LeBlanc complex now, which they inherently nerfed and reworked LeBlanc because they said this was an issue. They said that there was no quote-unquote counterplay. I'll see if I can try to find the patch notes where they actually nerfed LeBlanc in their statement about it. But here's what actually is going on here, okay? People will paddle star behind them, right, and throw it forward, right? But with their ult, this is what they can do. They can get farther away, all right? Let's say about here. I could probably even get a little farther back than that. They'll throw it like here, ult here, and then throw it forward, right? And if that lands, if that actually hits you, you're going to lose probably half health, if not more. And if you're a squishy champion, you might actually get one-shotted. Actually, my friend Daniel, he absolutely hates this champion with a burning passion. It's not like I don't get it. Because I try to tell him, it's like, I like her and she's a skilled champion. He's like, no, I hate her. Look, I get it. All right? She has the ability to basically one-shot people without being in danger. All she's got to do is throw it behind her, ult forward, and then Q. If you can get that combo down, you are pretty much one of the scariest champions in this game. Currently, at least in my opinion. Like, over and over and over again. And the thing is a lot of people, they get spooked when you get, like, right here, and so they use their, like, abilities, sometimes even their ulties, to try to stop you or kill you because they keep getting pelted in the face by this all day, and they're getting really fucking annoyed, or at least spooked because, you know, they're like, oh god, dodge it! You don't have a lot of time to dodge it once you get the ult. The ult makes it actually almost impossible to dodge Zoe's ult, or makes it almost impossible to dodge Zoe's paddle star. Now, am I saying that it's impossible? No, but I'm saying that I don't feel like it's counterplay at this point. I feel like it's more of a, it's just really irritating to have to try to deal with. So, you know, Riot said that, you know, the whole problem with LeBlanc was the fact that she'd flash in, hit you, and then be gone before you could do anything about it, which is pretty much what you have with Zoe now. I mean, Zoe can be this far away and land an ability. That's some fucking range, which I don't have a problem with the range. I have a problem with the amount of damage that she does. I think at the very least you should have to land a bubble first. Although, I think that her bubble should have longer range. I think that her bubble should also have a longer cooldown. And I think that her paddle star should take more mana. Because I'm going to show you exactly what goes on in lane. Because what happens is they'll go like mid lane, for example, right? And say you're against Zoe. If you've ever been against Zoe, you probably have seen this before, and it probably, if you're anything like me, it irritates you as much as it irritates me. Even though I absolutely adore this champion, she's probably one of my favorite new champions to come out this year. Purely because not only is she unique, but she has the ability to be super kitey, which I find to be extremely fun, because I love screwing with people's heads when I play. And the whole doing this thing is so much fun. Alright? But here's what people do. Throw Paddle Star back, throw it forward. Now you see that damage on the minions, right? They will pretty much do this all game, except for they'll probably stand, they'll get familiar with her like max range, and they'll just keep doing this all game. Over and over and over again, farming with it. And then her basic attack gives her an empowered like Lichbane effect. So by like passive default, she has a Lichbane, which in itself is scary. Zoe does a fuck ton of damage. Even after they nerfed her, she does a lot. When she first came out, I honestly wondered what Riot was thinking. I was like, I love this is amazing, but don't you think this is a little broken? Like, just a little bit? All I gotta do is just keep doing this. And the first, actually, before level 6, between level 1 and 5, this is all you'll see the Zoe do, over and over and over again. And then when she hits level 6, you pretty much lose your ability to get away from it or lose your ability to get anywhere near Zoe without taking a paddle star to the face that will probably chunk you for no less than at least 1/3 of your health, which in itself makes your life hell. Now people would say, oh, it's not that bad, Tyler. Well, tell me this. If you got hit by 2 abilities that take 1/3 of your health, and then in any way the jungler decides to help, like against you, you're not going to be able to lane against Zoe. And it's not because the Zoe's good. It's not because the Zoe is actually skilled in using all of her abilities to the fullest. It's because she can basically keep spamming this one ability over and over again, and then at level 6, be able to throw it, warp forward, use it, and get away without you being able to react in time. I mean, unless you know it's coming, chances of you hitting her when she comes out the other end is just almost non-existent. And that's, I think, inherently the problem with a lot of champions on League, is they kind of have this same effect, whether it be like Lux or whatever. Like I said, like, you don't even have to land every skill shot. It's more of a, when they do land the skill shot, you're fucked. I mean, I've had games where I'll like play against a Lux or a Zoe or whatever. So you're playing against a Zoe, right? And after like 20 minutes, you're thinking, okay, you know, this isn't so bad. She hasn't killed me. I've dodged a lot of her skill shots. She's clearly bad at this game. Tyler, I don't know what you're talking about. This isn't so bad. But then you'll notice, like Lux or Vel'Koz or different champions, when they land that one ability, that one CC, like in Lux's case, it's her snare. In Vel'Koz's case, it's his knock-up. A lot of times. Sometimes it's his slow first, and then he proceeds to knock you up afterwards. Now, Vel'Koz isn't as bad. More so with him, it's more of his ulti that's inherently the problem, kind of like Misfortune. But I'll go into them later. What I'm saying is that once you actually get hit with Zoe's Paddle Star, you lose 1/3 of your health for one ability, and she may not even be inherently good at the champion. And the fact that they're allowed to spam these abilities over and over and over again, they are eventually going to hit you. Even if it's by accident, even if it's complete fluke or luck, they're going to hit you. Because the hitbox on them isn't that small, but it also isn't that large. The fact is they will hit you. And when they do hit you, if they're doing 1/3 of your health, regardless of their farm, their items, and their skill level, you're going to have a lot of trouble with them, not because they're good, but because the champion itself is inherently broken. And people would say, well, then that makes the champion not skillful. I'm not saying that. See, I think there's a lot of people that are good at champions that are inherently broken. But I'm saying a lot of people tend to piggyback on the bandwagon of what's broken, because this is inherently true about League of Legends. Pick a champion that is buffed to the point, maybe it's even after a patch, that inherently is broken, and you don't have to be good at them to do well. And so then people bring them into ranked, and if you're playing your flavor of the month champion, you may do fine, you know, because you're following what's broken. But if you're one of these people that likes to play things that are, you know, not in the, you know, popular circle for that week, chances are this champion is going to wreck your world. Now, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just play those champions that everybody else is playing? If you like that champion, that might be fine, but I find a lot of times for a lot of people that flavor of the month isn't fun to play. You know, but they are inherently strong, and a lot of people, it's like, all that they care about is their elo, you know? And I think that inherently is one of the biggest problems with League today, is that League doesn't feel like it's becoming any more balanced. It just feels like they keep changing the game to keep it interesting. So, back to what I said about Vel'Koz's ult or Misfortune's ult, you may be thinking, oh no, these champions take skill. Vel'Koz's other abilities, I actually do think take skill, especially his Q. You know, because you have to kind of calculate angles and stuff and figure out exactly where they're going to be and hit them with it, which is, I think, amazing. I think it's a great ability. My problem with Vel'Koz is the fact that his mana consumption isn't very high. He can just keep spamming his abilities. And I would say there's a somewhat of a favoritism towards, like, certain champions being allowed to have this mechanic of being able to spam their ability like this over and over and over again until they eventually hit you, and they just push you out of lane and there's nothing you can do about it. Like Heimerdinger, people would say, oh, Heimerdinger's like that. Well, Heimerdinger actually is very mana dependent. And they actually agreed at one point that Heimerdinger was a problem, that he was able to push people out of lane like that, especially top lane, like, you know, Darius against a Heimer. And so they nerfed Heimerdinger and made it to where you have to land skill shots. Now, this wasn't the recent nerf they made to Heimerdinger, but this was one they did a month or two ago, maybe 3 months ago. Probably not quite 3 months ago, but close. It was like probably around October or November-ish, you know, around Halloween. And what they did was, and I think this was actually the greatest thing they could have ever done for Heimerdinger, they took the people that were bad at Heimerdinger and basically said, look, you're going to have to get better, you're going to have to land skill shots, or you're not going to be rewarded for it. And I think that's amazing. As a Heimerdinger player, I was like, awesome. You're basically going to take away the power from the Heimerdingers that don't know what they're doing. Because at face value, playing against Heimerdinger is not only frustrating, but in laning phase, it's downright evil. And I know this. I respect people enough to know that my champion in laning phase was cancer. But that being said, when they changed this mechanic that you have to land skill shots to get lasers, now his turrets don't randomly fire lasers all the time. It like has a bar that moves up, but it takes a while. Before, it only took like 3 or 4 seconds, and then lasers were shooting lasers all over the lane. You had no control over it though. But it didn't matter because it was broken. It was powerful. You could lane push the fuck out of people. And then when they changed it, they made it to where you have to land a stun to get your lasers to fire. Now, it does work with your missiles as well, and the turrets will charge up and laser eventually, but I think it takes around 25 seconds now, whereas before it was like 3 or 4 seconds for them to charge up to full, if you don't land any skill shots, that is. Okay? Whereas the missiles will give you like 1/3 or so. I don't know the actual percentages, but I've played Heimerdinger enough and do play Heimerdinger enough that I can kind of guess that once you land a missile, you get like maybe like 1/3 or even 1/4 the little white bar above the turrets. All right, and at this point, I think that Heimerdinger was kind of balanced. Now they did nerf him again, and I get why, and I'm not that upset about it because you'll hear some of my explanation into that as well. However, you have these champions that inherently are broken like this in lane, which Heimerdinger is better now than he used to be, okay? But say you take Vel'Koz, Zoe, Lux, these different people that are absolute cancer in laning phase, right? When you get to mid to late game, did you notice a lot of these champions start to fall off, though, really quickly? Like Vel'Koz falls off really quickly. Not so much Lux. But anyway, you'll notice that there's these certain champions that are absolute cancer in laning phase. Heimerdinger, Vel'Koz, etc. There's different ones, right? And then they start to fall off mid to late game. Unless they're good, mind you. But mid to late game, you'll notice they start to fall off. And you'll question, why is this? Well, for one reason or another, actually Azir is another good example. They are able to bully in lane when they have a tower behind them. But then all of a sudden, when they don't have their tower anymore, it's like, oh fuck, now what? Like Heimerdinger, if he's up against his turret with his own turrets, is very hard to dive. If not, you shouldn't even try. Which wouldn't even be a smart thing to try to do. Same thing with like Azir. Right? That makes sense. Everybody could agree on that, right? But here's where things get kind of annoying. Things like Lux, or Yasuo, or even like Zigzo, right? Mid-game is the worst time to ever fight them. And you want to kill them because you need to kill them because they're the ones doing all the damage, but you can't get to them because they can hide far enough in the background and still hit you and only have to use like one ability. If they do land it eventually, or let's say your team provides some CC and then you snare them afterwards, it's like, oh, Sejuani dashed him, and then Lux throws in a snare, and then she just QWEs, she rolls her face across the keyboard, and you're instantly like lasered into the ground. I love playing Lux, but inherently I think one of the bad things about Lux is that when you get a non-skilled player playing her, you really don't have to be good to be broken. And that's where I think the problem with the game is you need to be rewarded for being good at a champion. You're not rewarded because the champion, regardless of how bad you do, you just fucking do a fuck ton of damage. And you see that with Yasuo all the time. I think that's one of the reasons you see him banned a lot. Or say like Master Yi. A lot of people would say, no, Master Yi takes skill. If you're bagging on Yasuo, you're clearly a low elo. And you know what? If that's the way you feel about it, that's fine. But I'd like to make one argument, and I'd say look at this with an open mind. Have you ever had that Yasuo who will sit in the jungle, and I've talked about this in my, like, 3 types of junglers video, but I think this is something that kind of point out that kind of explains more what I'm talking about and what fundamentally is destroying League of Legends, at least for me, or has been for at least the last year or so, is that junglers nowadays do not help their team. And I'm not going to go too far off track talking about junglers and Master Yi, but have you ever noticed that Master Yi can sit in his jungle, farm, and then every once in a while he'll go out and kill steal or take kills from a lane that he should be helping feed. And eventually he snowballs and becomes the worst possible champion to ever have to play against if your team either A, doesn't know how to deal with him, or B, doesn't have the CC to deal with him. If you're playing a whole team without CC and your teammates are either fighting or not coordinated, in any way, shape, or form, that Master Yi is just like running around eating everybody alive. Well, some people would argue, well, that's because your team's not working together. Let's just say that they are coordinated. The point is, I don't think a champion, regardless of your team's teamwork, should be able to fundamentally become that much of an issue purely because of the champion they're playing. I think they only should have that ability when somebody's skillful at a champion. You ever seen that good Rumble, and you were just like, oh my god, this is scary as all hell? See, Rumble's the type of champion that I think is a really good example. You don't ever see Rumble and just inherently go, man, this Rumble man, guys, he's broken. Oh man, look, call Riot, we need a nerf. Because Rumble, unless you're good at him, fucking sucks. And I think that's the way a lot of champions should be. I think you should be rewarded when you're good at something, and I don't think Riot should be babying people. Now, I don't know if they do it on purpose to give, you know, the newer players of the game something to play, for it to be easier on them. It might be the case. I don't really know for sure. Or if Riot's just inherently, you know, doesn't care. Because, you know, a lot of what Riot does revolves around the pro circuit. The nerfs, the bans, etc. And I get it. I do. Riot is a business at heart, and they want to keep that a thing. And I get that. That's fine. I understand that. But I think to myself, how would what I'm saying affect the pro players? I don't think it would. Okay? I don't think making a champion scale better or do better based on how well they're actually designed would be a bad thing. You know? What I'm saying is that, you know, if you land this skill shot, kind of like what they did with Heimerdinger. It's like, oh, if you land a skill shot, you're going to be rewarded with more damage. Well, okay, you're going to give me more damage for doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or being good at my champion? Great, that's awesome. But then you have champions like Gnosis, who can sit and last hit Q minions in lane for, you know, 40 minutes, and some people would argue, oh, but you can, you know, counter pick him, and you can, you know, bully him out of farm, and do this and that. But what happens when you can't bully Gnosis out of farm? Think about it. What happens when you can't stop Gnosis from farming? You know exactly what happens. That son of a bitch is 1v4ing your team like it doesn't even require any skill. Oh, that's right, because it doesn't. Because once Gnosis is fed, he's just inherently broken, not because they're good at their champion, it's just broken. That's why a lot of people, at least not so much anymore, but used to pick Gnosis back in the day, is because you could sit there for 20 minutes, last hitting minions with your Q, which half healths them at half health, so you don't even have to be good at like waiting for their health to get low. You just Q them when they're like at half health, and then all of a sudden you can 1v4 like a monster and nobody can kill you. You know, you have the damage of a mage, but the tankiness of fucking Malphite back in the day. Same thing with like Lux, you know, right? She'll just run around, never getting close to anybody, throw a snare, and once it makes contact, which even if she misses like 20, you know, snares, because she's just like the worst Lux in all Infinity. If she lands one on you eventually and gets her full combo out, she doesn't even really have to be fed to do a lot of damage because she's Lux. You know, and I think Riot needs to kind of address that, because it just gives people unnatural amounts of damage for, well, because their champion's powerful. You know, like Yasuo. Sit and farm for 20 minutes, hit your ulti, get one knock up, and boom, all of a sudden you ulti into a group of people. You know, you have a Wukong or an Alistar in your team that knocks up a bunch of people. I never really understood why Riot was like, you know, Yasuo clearly doesn't have enough ways of killing somebody. Let's make sure all knockups count. Because at one point it only used to be his Whirlwind. like the knock-up from his whirlwind, so they had to at least land a skill shot to get the knock-up. And then one day Riot was like, you know, that's not broken enough. You know, that's not strong enough. We need to make it all knock-ups. Knockbacks,
Telling you,
etc. And I'm like,
someone has a hard-on for Yasuo there.
at Riot, it kind of seems that way. They play favoritism at Riot, in my opinion, because you notice certain champions get a lot of skins, and then there's other champions that get almost none. Well, I think there is some business practice to this. You know, whoever plays, you know, the more popular champions are more likely to get a skin, which makes perfect sense. It does, you know. The ones that require less work to make a skin for, you know, like Rumble and Heimerdinger and stuff, they don't get as many skins because there's more to animate. Okay, that makes sense. I get that. But that being said, when you see champions that have a really high win rate, right? Like, you know, Vayne or Yasuo or whatever, and they have like, you know, 50% plus win rate in ranked, right? And then they're like, you know what? We're gonna nerf Heimerdinger. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. If you nerf Heimerdinger, I'm okay with that. But what about all the people above him in terms of win rate that are doing better than him, that have been broken and been doing better than him for multiple seasons? Heimerdinger just got popular recently because I guess the Koreans started playing him, and that like caused a surge of people to start playing Heimer, and they were like, oh no, we can't have that, and they immediately nerfed him within like a month of him getting popular, right? Which, okay, I'm not a huge, you know, I don't have a huge problem with this because I don't want Heimerdinger to be popular. I don't want a shit ton of people playing him because that means he's going to get banned, and it also means that somebody may counterpick him or just take him from me in general because they're like, oh, I want to play Heimer's support, and I'm just going to look at them like they're cancer. But that being said, why is it that Riot deems one champion worthy of a nerf and not another? A lot of people argue, oh, well, he's winning a lot, he's doing well in ranked. Okay, there's a lot of people above Heimerdinger's win rate that were doing well at the time, that were actually doing, in my opinion, exceedingly a lot better than him, that they just completely ignored. I'm not saying they need to nerf these champions into the ground or anything, but why do they completely ignore some of them and seem to immediately nerf others when they get broken? You know? You notice certain champions, right, come out and they're like, we're gonna make this champion broken. Riot always seems to overbuff something first. People pull it into ranked, and then eventually they end up nerfing it into the ground. They pretty much do this every time they bring out a new champion. But I question to myself, why is this champion even allowed to be in ranked for the first, you know, month or whatever that they come out? They shouldn't be allowed to be played in ranked at all until their balancing gets corrected to a point that they're decent, you know? Like Zoe, for example, when she first came out, her scaling was a little crazy. Oh, they're gonna try to cockroach me, are they? Goodbye, Vladimir. Silly people. So, you have these people, you know, and I kind of question myself anymore, like, is Riot making the game more balanced, or are they merely changing how it works each season to keep it fresh and interesting? They claim to care about their game, and they claim to care about the balance, but it seems like the favoritism that they show certain champions, you know, a lot of the employees probably play League as well, you know? And it makes me wonder, well, okay, how many of them are in the, like, patching department? Or have friends that are? Oh man, I really like playing Yasuo, I'm about to get, you know, Diamond 5 or something. Make sure they don't, you know, nerf Yasuo. You know, or don't nerf Vayne, or whatever. And I think to myself, a lot of times the champions that require skill to play, that are also broken, are the first ones to get nerfed. And the ones that require almost no skill to play are the last ones to get nerfed. Vayne, you know, people with no skill shots, do mostly basic attacks, just scale ridiculously for no reason. It's like, oh, I'm 1-8, but I'm still able to be fed at, you know, 30 minutes into the game because I one-shot a group of people and got a quadra kill. It's like, wait a minute, how is that fair to everybody else that, like, worked the entire game to get good? You know? You crush that one person in lane and then all of a sudden they just snowball. And it's not because your teammates did anything stupid, which does happen at times, I admit. But there's times where it just happens and it feels like they didn't do anything impressive. They just, like Yasuo, for example, Wukong ulted into a group of people, Yasuo hit his ulti, and now Yasuo got a, like, quadra kill. You know, and now Yasuo buys, you know, some of the core items he needed, and now all of a sudden he just pops off and becomes the most fed person in the game, carrying the team, and you're just like, well, that doesn't seem right. What about the struggle of, like, shutting him down for the first, you know, 20, 30 minutes of the game, and he gets fed in 5 minutes? That's not cool, man. Oh, dear God, why is she here? Oh, that's a 4-man gank mid. Well, technically 3 because Vladimir is completely unaware of his surroundings, but still, damn it, go away. It's only 9 minutes in. I ain't having that shit in my lane. There are some champions, and it could be just the elo that I'm on, but, like, for example, Darius. Do you see Darius played that often?
No.
I mean, I'm not saying that you never see him, but you don't see him, like, that often. You notice he gets a lot of new skins, including the gemstone skin they brought out. What do they call those? Like Hextech skins? Like, why does Darius get so many skins? And then you look at somebody like Heimerdinger, who I would say you see Darius and Heimerdinger about the same. I mean, Darius you see a little bit more. But I question myself, okay, well, why does Darius, you know, have like an unending amount of skins? You know, Annie. Annie is another champion you don't see very often that they just keep making more and more skins for. I'm not going to complain because I like playing Annie, but I question, okay, well, you have somebody that's not popular and somebody that's not popular. Heimerdinger got 1 skin in like 5 years, okay? The last skin that they brought out, alright, before Hazmat, I have no idea which one it was. It might have been like Snowmerdinger, truthfully. Was probably before I started playing the game. And I started in like season 2. Oh my god. Go away! Ah! Oh, great. He's got a Sonya's now. Oh no, just a stopwatch. Oh, okay. Kick his ass, Sejuani! Kick his ass! Get him! Fucking get him! Get that son of a whore! Get him! Fucking him with his damn heels. Get his bitch ass! Oh man, it's not worth it, Sejuani. Oh no. See, that's what I'm talking about. This Vladimir is god-awful. And we looked him up before a game. He's like, what, bronze 2, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, you saw his getaway, like, and it's like, he didn't do anything impressive. But it's just like, vamp, 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 pull, vamp, vamp, pull, vamp, vamp, pull. It's like, he's got an infinite amount of getaway at that point. Like, and he's also a tank, so it's like, oh, the dives. They're diving, but they're also dying. Oh, they're dying. Oh my god, are they that dumb? Oh! So many questions, so little time. What's up, lad? How you liking that damage, man? Oh, why are you pinging me enemies missing? He's right fucking here. Oh. Oh, I'm getting cockroached, I see. Okay, well, 4 mid again.
They do not like you, do they?
Yeah, I was gonna say, they really don't like me. I
Hey,
got
what
by,
did-
though.
What did
Now that I
you
know
do?
she's that fed, I'm gonna focus her out for the gold.
What did you do? Piss on their coffee in this morning?
I must have done something in a past life, Chris.
You were secretly Vlad the Impaler?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I was secretly the Impaler all along.
If there were past lives, I'd be curious, actually.
This is such an interesting game. Okay. You got me. Question is, who's got you? Good night. Oh, really? Alright. I was hoping they'd keep playing.
Quit?
They all ran away.
Maybe they'll learn in a bit.
People people in League learning their lesson? That seems eerie.
You know how it is. Some people it only takes a couple kicks to the skull before they learn.
Just a couple.
I don't mean that in a bad way. Yeah, you just hold everything in until it goes out. It's like a volcano.
Yeah, but we've learned about supernova volcanoes. That's not a good thing, Chris. It's
Yeah,
not a good thing. When it finally goes, it takes the entire area with it.
only for the person that's in front of me.
And the surrounding area.
Yeah, well, it matters how many people there are.
Well, let's hope you're not in a crowded area. I should probably be helping them, but I really
Don't want to.
If you want your quadra kill, I'm down here.
Sail it to him.
Go away, Ash, you fucking piece of shit. Oh, hi, Pantheon. Pantheon, what were you hoping to accomplish with that? Like, do you think you're gonna, like, catch me off guard or something? Indeed, a wise choice.
What can you do about that?
And Maokai just sits in one. Like, Maokai, man, they're diving us. They're not even focusing you. Do something. And now you stay at the tower, and now you're gonna die. If you're gonna play that bitchy, at least run away so you don't feed. They don't deserve a surrender. They deserve to watch their base crumble. Oh, my goodness. You know, I'm not even, like, annoyed to the point that we're not going to win, and I'm okay with not winning. But then you have that one person spamming the surrender that isn't helping the team, that's just fucking around and basically int. Like, inting, I guess you would call it. But still, it's like, I don't like it. I hate it. I hate it so much.
Lemmy, I know.
Come here, Vlad. Come here, Vladdy boy. Come here, Vladdy boy. Come here. I said fucking come here. Get over here. That's what I'm talking about with Vladimir, though. Like, he's not even a good Vladimir, and you can't kill the motherfuckers. It's just like, vamp, vamp, vamp,
Blood
pool,
pool.
vamp, vamp, vamp. It's like, motherfucker, just die.
Right? Just want to stab him and be done with it. What?
You know me so well. Can I just stab him, Mom? Please, just once? I don't know. Did you finish your dessert? Yes? Okay, honey. Have fun now.
He's tied in up in your basement.
Oh, man. It'd be Yandere Simulator all over again.
Except with all guys.
You know, I'm still waiting for... No. I don't know. I just... It's frustrating. You know, playing with teams like this, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If I don't group with them, they all die, and the team keeps getting triples and better. You know, whereas if I do group with them, they don't commit. Like, this Maokai is garbage. Like, I don't even want to be mean about it. Like, I don't hate him as a person, I just hate the way he plays the game. You know, and I think to myself, if you're going to play like that, why do you play PvP? The whole point is supposedly that this game's a team game.